Hello everyone, welcome to this module explaining you the civil features in BricsCAD. I will explain you how to use some of the civil tools for conceptual design and earthworks. Um, Starting here, I already have the Civil V5 starter file open, so that comes with your starter files. So if you open that, you will see here in the ribbon, you will have a tab called Civil. So we will mainly use these commands today and explain you how each command here works. In BricsCAD, topographical surfaces are created using the Thin Surface tool and Thin Surface, TIN, which means Triangulated Irregular Network. In BIM models, these topographical surfaces are used to represent the site. You can import these from CSV files or from text files as well. But you can also place the points yourself in BricsCAD at different elevations, so you can create a civil 3D surface. You can also import and export these files from Land XML as well. So for this training, I'm going to start with importing a thin surface. So let's do that. Click on Thin Surface. I have the command line here open so you can see more clearly what's happening. Here I'm typing in I to import from file. So here you already see the text file that I'm going to import here as a thin surface, but we can also take a look at it. So how it looks as in a notepad, for example. You will see these are just coordinates of the points and polylines within this text format. And when you import these, you will see it will be converted into a thin surface in BricsCAD. So here, let me just hover over this thin surface and change the layer here to surface. So it turns green and it will be easier for us to follow along like this. All right, so now we have our initial thin surface. We will do some direct modeling on it and change some geometry and see how it all works within BricsCAD. So let me just select this thin surface and open up the properties panel. And you will see some general information about this thin surface. But mainly I want to turn on the contours here, for example. So the contours, what is it? It represents the joining of points of equal elevation within a line. So here you see different heights for the lines, but you can change the interval of that as well. So let me change it to 5, for example. And then you will see it's much less frequent, the lines here, since I changed the interval to 5. You can also change the color, for example, to a darker one, like this. So it's up to you how you want these contours to look like this. And then if I select the surface again, you will see the other properties like number of points, number of triangles, and so on. So some basic information about your thin surface. But we can close this now and let's see how we can start with this thin surface here. So at the end of this valley, we want to create an accumulation dam. Here at the end here, so let's see, somewhere here, to create an accumulation dam. So for this, I'm going to start with creating a line. So you can go back to home here and select the line, or you can type in L for line and press enter. To start drawing a line over here, make sure your eSnap is on so you can grab it more easily. So let's see. And then just drag it across the valley. So for example, here, like this. So you see here my line. Let me just change the color to magenta so you see more clearly where the line exactly is. So like this is the initial setup for the dam that I want to create on this valley. Now, to actually create a dam, I'm going to use the grading technology for that. So this is the third icon here, grading. So when I select that, it will ask me for an input entity. So this is my line. So when I select that, I have the option for slope and offset. So let me just do offset for now because I want to have a road, a flat part, and a flat surface as well for the cars to go over to, for example. So O for offset and enter. So now I will have a part where I can set the dimension. So let's say 2 meters. And when I hit the tab key, I can switch over to the part when I input degrees. So now here you see it's always 2, but for degrees I can still change it. But since I want to have a flat part, let's say 0 and press enter. Okay, so this is the first part of our road, but we wanted to do it the same for the other side of the line as well. So again, grading. Sometimes it's hard to grab the magenta line, so we can use tab for that to make sure we are going to select the right line here. Again, type in O and enter. And then again, type in the distance for 2 meters and then 0 for the degrees, so enter. So like this, we have our initial flat part of our dam accumulation. And let's add in a grading again to connect this flat part to the existing thin surface like this. So you will see a preview about the connecting parts from the flat surface to the existing green thin surface here. And let's say I want to have it 75 degrees, so type in 75 and enter. All right, and do that for the other side as well. So grading, select this flat surface and then select the existing surface, type in 75 and enter. So like this, I have my initial dam accumulation here to use for this project. So that looks pretty good. Of course, these gradings are actually dynamically connected. So to the reference entity. So that means this line here that we created here in the beginning. So when you select this line again, so again, if it's hard to select the specific line that you want, hit the tab key until you get the line. So here I hit the tab key twice and then I got the line. So I select that and I'm sure that I'm selecting the right entity for this. So when I select the line, I have 3 grip points, so one for the middle and one for the end and the other end. I can select the end here and then, for example, move it a little bit further. So you'll see the 4 gradings will adapt immediately to the new situation. So that's pretty good. So you see immediately the change that you've made by moving this line. Again, you can do the same thing with when you select the line and you click longer on your left mouse here, you will launch the manipulator. You can also do it with the move command, but if you want to move the whole dam, you will see the preview as well. So you can make sure how it looks in your design. And let's type in 12 meters and move the line here. You will see that the dam adapted itself to the existing thin surfaces. So like this, you can just try out some locations for your dam. And let's say this one is a good one that I want. I can still, for example, select the flat surface grading here and go to the properties, you will see that, for example, offset is 2, but let's say I want to have a wider road path, so let's change it to 4. You will see that the connecting slope grading here will also change, so which is also very handy. You don't have to do it again. It will adapt immediately. So let's also do that for the other side here and go to offset. Instead of 2, let's type in 4 and press enter. So you will see how the slope here moves according to the new distance. All right, so this is uh, the final dam accumulation geometry and location that I want. So like this, I can finish up by merging all the 4 gradings. So now my slope, my dam here exists of 4 gradings, and but let's make it into one surface so it's easier to control and also easier to get the right information out of it. So like this, I'm going to use merge thin surfaces and then select the 4 gradings that we've created, the other side, press enter, and then the command line will ask you remove merged thin surfaces, and then let's say yes, and press enter. So now you see instead of 4 gradings, I now have 1 thin surface, which is good. Now, with that, I can get some information out of it, as in, for example, thin volume surface. So let's see how that one goes. Let me zoom out a little bit and choose the second icon here, thin volume surface. So let's do that. Select the base thin surface, so the green part, and then the comparison thin surface, so the dam accumulation surface here, and then just press enter, and you will see if I zoom out a little bit, there is another entity created on the level 0 of the z-axis, and this is the thin volume surface. So when I select it and I go to the properties, you will see some more information out of it as well. So you can get some properties that are really useful. For example, like the cut and fill volume that you need to create this particular dam accumulation. So this is very helpful information that you can get out of such a thin volume surface. Another thing that you can get out of it is a mesh or a solid. So for this thin surface, you can actually also create a separate solid or a mesh from such an irregular geometry, and you can use these solids or meshes to exchange it in other applications as well to further go ahead and analyze these surfaces. So let me do that. Mesh and solid from thin. So click on that, select the thin surface, so the green one, and then I'm going to type in S for between surfaces and press enter and choose the second surface. So now I have the option to create it as a mesh or a solid. So in this case, let's do mesh. And you will see instantly I will have a mesh created. Let me just move it down a little bit so you can see more clearly. So this is a separate entity created out of this dam accumulation, which represent perfectly the connection between the existing thin surface as well and how it looks like and what kind of visual representation it has. So that's also quite handy. So this is for tin extract. But let me just also, since we got some information out of it, let me also merge the both surfaces so I can use them later on. Okay, so like this, I have again on layer 0, but let me change it back to surface. So I have a green surface line. The line I can hide or delete if you want to. so it looks a little bit better. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is actually create a building path, and for that, let me just use some direct modeling tools on this surface to smoothen or just adjust some things on the surface to prepare this for the building path. First thing that I can do is, for example, smoothen the thin surface. So this is this command, select thin surface, type in S for smoothen, and you can select an entity for this or draw a polygon yourself, but let me use the default radius for that so you can see how it works. So this is a circle where I can just click on it, and you will see the part that I've clicked on is smoothened out. So like this, I can smoothen parts of um, my surface out to clean up parts that I don't need to be that bumpy. For example, like this, you can change the radius of the circle, or you can use another entity. So instead of a circle geometry, I can have, for example, a rectangle. All right. So that is smoothen. Another way to use or deform this thin surface is with the modify deform tool. So let me just open up the layer panel here and show polylines. So I have here 2 polylines ready, so I can show you how that works. So for deform, so building paths, if you want to create building paths, you actually have 2 ways to do it. One way is with deform tool, or the other way with grading. So I will show you both and what the difference exactly is between them. So for this smaller part, let me use deform and select the base surface, and then choose deform and specify or select the entity. So here I'm going to select entity because I already have a closed polyline here ready. So type in E and press enter, select this one, and it will ask me for an offset. So here, to deform this thin surface, I actually need to know the inner and outer boundary of this footprint here. So both footprints, I actually already have to know what I want as an offset distance, and for grading, that's not necessary. So just take a random offset distance. So you will see now I will have a preview here of both inner and outer boundary of this entity that I've selected before. So like that, I can go over the whole surface and place a certain location for this. Let's say, for example, here, I can click on that, and you will see I have an instant preview again for um, a certain elevation that I can set. For example, like this. And I can create a new one or create it on the existing surface, which is the green surface. But let's type in N for new and see what it does. So you will see now I have a new surface for a building path, for example, with the outer line that I've set as an offset distance. Not only for elevations, but actually for other tools as well. For example, if I go here, and instead of an elevation, I can set balanced or not. So if I type in B for balance, it will calculate the net volume, which is by default 0. That means the net volume, the fill volume minus the cut volume is 0. So that's when you cut out volumes in the earthworks, you fill up with the same volume. So you don't need extra material, for example, which is cost efficient. Like this, you can specify the 0 net volume, and it will calculate the elevation for you like this. So this is the result when you use all your cut volume into filling this elevation. So yeah, the same way I can actually create, let's see, deform again. and specify the entity here and the offset. And instead of going up, I can also go down to create a void or a depression and create on existing. So I can, for example, do this for rivers or lakes or for a fountain or stuff like that. So you can create depressions like that. But let's also create a building path with a grading. So with a grading, it's handy because for grading you only need to know the one footprint that you need, and for that I can go for S for slope and press enter and the target here. And you see here, instead of having to set an offset distance, you only need a preview, or you can just set a degree angle for your slope. For example, here, let's say 65, and I can enter it. So you don't really need an extra offset distance for this boundary footprint. Here I just need to know the offset degree, the slope degree of this grading. So like this, I have a grading which is a separate entity as the existing thin surface. Now, if I click on that, I can also change the color if you want to, so it's a little bit different. I can select the grading and go to the properties. You will see also some basic information, as in cut and fill for the slope, some number of points, triangulations, and so on. I can set the boundary on, and if I go back, you will see, since I set the boundary on, if I move this grading somewhere else, you will see the instant adaptation to the new location for the thin surface. So let's say I move it here. You will see, instead of a slope that is a building path as in fill volume, you will see, according to the existing thin surface, you will see that's actually cut out parts of the same slope degree. So it's a little bit different, but it adapts immediately how, depending on how or on what length or what height you set your new um, entity to. So let's say I want it higher, you will see the instant difference, and you will see some more fill volumes here and less cut here. So like this, you can create a building path and locate it wherever you want to. All right, so that looks pretty good. Like this, you can hide the polyline if you want to, just a little bit cleaner, and then type in X attach to attach the main building to it. So I'm just using the default options here and click OK. Let load for a little bit, and I'm just going to do the same thing for the second building here. Click on it, OK. And like this, I have a building path with some buildings on it on my site and project here. All right, so that looks pretty good. Now, the next step that I want to do for this project is to create a road along the hills here and running across this building path. So let's see how that goes. So to create this road corridor, I will need to use some alignments for this. So these 3D alignments in BricsCAD are a combination of horizontal and vertical alignments in 2D, but there are several ways to do this, but let me just show you most convenient way within the 3D model itself. So let me just zoom out a little bit so I can get a better overview. So let's start with alignment here. And create a horizontal one here just on my 3D surface. So type in H and enter, select the thin surface, so the green part, and then pick horizontal alignment PI point. So here I can just start to pick some points where I want the road to be. Make sure to not pick too many points, because otherwise you will have some problems maybe with it later on when we adjust these alignments. So here I'm just going to run it across the hill here. And then just along the building path a little bit. It can go over this depression part that's not like this, for example, and then I can press enter, and then I can pick an origin point for the vertical alignment or for automatic 3D alignment. So I will choose for the automatic 3D alignment. So I type in A and press enter. So now you see I actually have two lines now, one blue and one red one. So the red one is the alignment and the blue one is actually the profile of your tint surface. So I can show you a little bit later. But you will see here again, there is a horizontal alignment projected on level 0 of the Z axis. And these are actually connected with the 3D model. So if I change anything here, it will be reflected directly onto the 3D alignment here, you see? Let's press escape back like this. And let's create a vertical alignment as well. So before I create the vertical alignment, let me create two viewports so you can see a little bit more clear what's happening exactly. So let me type in viewports and then 2 for 2 viewports and H for horizontal. So I can have two parts here. Here I'm going to zoom into the actual 3D model, something like this. And here I'm going to select vertical alignment view and then select the horizontal alignment here that we just created, and then go to the look from to top view and just place it somewhere above here. And you will see a profile with the heights. If I zoom in, you will see I have two sort of lines. One is the blue one, which is the profile for the existing tint surface, so the green tint surface. And the other one, so the purple one, is for your road design. So this is the profile currently for your road design alignment and how it looks like. Now, you can open up the properties for that and see what we can do. So you'll see here vertical alignment of my road design here, and you will see here I can have an update mode automatic, number of PVIs 22, and the accuracy factor is 10. So what does that mean? The accuracy factor, this is the parameter where you can specify how this vertical profile is aligned with the existing surface. So let's say I type in 1. You will see now that the design alignment here is much more straight. It only has one point connecting the other without any other extra points connected with the existing surface. So like here you will see in the 3D as well that the red line now is not on the surface mostly, but just in, because I've set the accuracy factor that low. So the higher I set the accuracy factor, the more aligned it will be with the existing surface. But of course, for roads, I don't really want that. But let's set it a little bit higher so it runs across a little bit better. So like this, you will see that it's a little bit more aligned with the existing profile, but still smooth enough to be a road. Maybe here not, because I have that depression here, but we can change that right away. So I will show you as well. All right, so like this, I've set the accuracy factor to 5, which is okay. I will change it maybe later on, but for now that looks good. Let me just go back to a single viewport first. So let me type in viewports, SI for single, and then zoom in, zoom out, and go back to our model here. Let me just add in the grading for this line here so you can see a little bit better how the road is going to look like. So again, like before with the dam accumulation, I'm going to use an offset grading here with dimension of 2 and a degrees of 0 since I want to have it flat. And I'm going to do this for the other side. So if I don't select the alignment here immediately, just tap the key, the tab key. So you see here, now I'm 100% sure that I'm selecting the right thing for the offset here. So for the other side again, 2 meters distance and then tab 0 degrees and enter. So like this, I have already a preview of how my road is going to look like. For example, here it's not really realistic, but we can change that later on. But you will see if I, for example, select the line here again, I will have some grip points. So you'll see here these triangle things. These are the grip points for my horizontal placement. So you will see here, if I drag it across, you will see that the horizontal placement of my road is going to change. So like this, I can play around with it a little bit and, for example, move this around and then maybe do things like that. Just an example. So, but this is only for the horizontal placement, but you can actually also add in for the vertical placements as well. So if I go to the properties when selecting this 3D alignment, so you can see here 3D alignment, and the update mode is on automatic, but let's do this manual. So now you see that there are extra grip points here, and these are actually the vertical grip points. So for example, here I definitely don't want that. So here I can actually drag this grip point up to have a higher and less difference road like this. So that looks much better than before, and then it's also more realistic to have a road like this, of course. Or you can do it slightly in the ground as well if you want to. For example, like this. Here as well, you can change the height of your road here. You can go up or down like this to make it less bumpy and not too much height differences. Here it's actually going up quite high, so let me just change that. So for example, like this. Okay, so when you're done placing and editing those horizontal and vertical grip points, I can actually also add in the slope grading on the sides of my part. So here I can add in a grading for my flat here and flat surface onto my existing one. And then here, let's say 55 degrees. Let it load for a little bit on the other side as well. Just, okay, grading 55. Okay, so like this, that looks pretty good. These overlapping parts, I will edit them later on, so you will see how that works. For this, the 4 gradings, let me just merge them also, so I can have one big thin surface instead of 4 gradings. So like this, I have my road surface. Of course, I want to have some information out of it. So let me just create a thin volume surface for this as well. Before I do that, let me just also deform this surface and create a water surface for this project as well. So thin deform and then specify contour C and press enter. So here I can set an elevation for my water here, for example, like this, and create a new one. So N and press enter. And that's done. Let me just select this water surface and change the layer to water like this. So that looks pretty good. So my dam is accurate. Let me just, like I said before, create a thin volume surface out of my road and also out of this water surface to see how much volume do I actually need, as in water, to create something like this. Select the thin surface here, the green one, and then the comparison surface, so the road, enter. All right, so let's see how that looks. So that looks here. When I select this road part, you will see some information and the cut and the fill volume that I need to create this kind of road. So that's for the road, and then let me also create a thin volume surface for the water. So select the green part first and then select the water surface and press enter. And you will see here I have, of course, the cut volume is 0, but for fill I will need 57,000 cubic meters of water to create something like this. Lastly, you can see here I still have parts that are overlapping my road part. So for that, I'm going to add a boundary to my road, so this part will not overlap anymore. So I can do that with edit thin surface here. So if I click on that, I will have to select the existing thin surface, so the green one. And then here I'm going to add a boundary. So AO, enter. And for options, I want to hide the overlapping part. So hide, type in hide, enter. And now I'm going to select the road that I want to use. Click on that one and then press enter again. And now it will calculate and see what it needs to be hidden and what is part of the road. So you see now, instead of the green parts here and here that was overlapping and here as well, now I have a clear road for these overlapping parts. So that looks pretty good as well. Last one, I can select my alignments and hide them as well, so I have a more clean look. So this is the end of the civil training for this module. Of course, there are some extra options and parts that I haven't talked about in depth, but these are the most important features for civil in BricsCAD that you should know. But if you have any questions, you can also go to the help page for some extra information about these civil features. And yeah, I hope you learned something, and thanks for watching.